We are currently here for a public hearing on a general obligation bond. Steve, I'll let you start up the discussion.
This is a public hearing that is required by charter. The proposal on the table before the council is to authorize a bond for $5.287 million. It's going to cover a number of different projects and acquisitions of equipment, repairs to buildings, and that sort of thing. There will be two methods used to pay for the projects in the bond. One will part of it will be paid for by TIF revenues. That's and the other part is going to be paid for by the general fund. It's about a 50-50 split. Do you want my presentation?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, what you're looking at on the screen right now is a representation of the city's legal debt ceiling, which is $56.25 million. The orange bars that you see are a representation of the amount of debt that the city has incurred up through 2020, which was the last bond that was issued by the council. This is a cumulative chart, and all of those bonds are still active. Where am I going? Operator error. This chart shows the projected annual debt service through the year 2041. You'll see a maximum debt service burden there of $2.5 million, which is a policy decision made by the council that it does not want to exceed $2.5 million in debt service expense on an annual basis. The orange bar that you see in the middle of all of the gold bars is the current year. This chart, as colorful as it is a projection out to 2050 of the capacity of the city to bond in $5 million increments in approximately 2 to 3 year intervals, and still remain below that maximum debt service burden of $2.5 million. Each of the different colors is a different bond, and they all start with an initial expense of about $90,000, and then they grow in the next year to about $350,000 and graduate down from that until they are fully paid off. This projected annual debt service chart shows the existing debt in gold and the red bar as well. The blue bars that are added on top are the bond that we're talking about tonight. And the next three charts, or next three slides, are a list of the various items that are being included in this bond. As you can see, there's a total proposed column, there's a TIF revenue funded column, and a general fund column. We start off with converting the City Hall heating system to natural gas, which has a number of benefits We anticipate there's between a 10 and 15-year payback on that, and it's going to upgrade the boiler in the system, in the City Hall, and also eliminate an underground storage tank in the parking lot. The airport has a total of $200,000 in repairs and service to the terminal building, all of which are necessary because of wear and tear. And the fire and EMS department, with $150,000, is doing various repairs to the fire station, as well as expanding their parking area in the rear. Police will be changing out 3 vehicles in their fleet, and they'll be purchasing body cameras for all uniformed, actually all sworn officers in the department. We believe that that's going to be a significant advantage for tracking actual events rather than relying on eyewitness testimony. Then in Public Works, we have almost $2.5 million in expenses that will involve a new trash packer truck that will be a duplicate in principle of the one that we have now, so it will collect trash as well as recyclables, and that will give the existing truck a backup. If anyone was paying attention to the trash pickup today, the dual packer was in for maintenance, so the truck that was on the street today didn't collect any recyclables because it didn't have the capacity to keep them separate. We need a new street sweeper. Ours is pretty old, and the next $200,000 is for that. The next 5 items have to do with paving, and most of the paving is going to be done in the south end this year. It includes streets involving just resurfacing streets, as well as what they call grinding and shimming, so that they'll change the contours of the streets. There'll be a little bit of reconstruction, I'm sure, and it includes sidewalk surfacing also. Down at the bottom, you'll see a $400,000 item there that's labeled structure adjustments, because the public utilities, the sewer utility and the water utility, aren't able to keep pace with the paving schedule that we've presented them with. The city is going to front the $400,000 to adjust the manholes and the catch basins and other in the street utility structures that need to be moved in order to do the resurfacing. We're actually working with the utilities at this point to negotiate a payback schedule to the city, since this is work that they would have to do anyway. We're just going to front the money so that we can get on with our paving schedule. And then finally, we have the list of proposed recreation improvements, starting with the North Street recreation area. We covered this in a previous council meeting. That's $660,000. And then the relocation of youth soccer and various other improvements, including parking, concessions building, restrooms, dog park, and improvements to the softball field out at the Pine Ridge recreation area over on West River Road. One of the things that we are looking at there is additional parking in the area that used to be the dog park, if you're familiar with that, with an access through the parking lot of the golf course right on West River Road. If we can do that, and it's affordable for us, we will take all of the traffic that would be accessing the area off of Louise Avenue, which we think is a bonus. Beyond that, we have a variety of parks and playgrounds that are going to be addressed. The Council's Finance Committee decided to include all of those so that nobody, or no neighborhood in the city was left out, and that all of the parks and playgrounds where the children go and kids play in general haven't been invested in over 20 years. This is a large plan, but at the same time, it's one that is going to last for a considerable amount of time. That's the entire list. The total cost is $5.287 million. And as you can see, the funding is going to be split almost evenly between TIF revenue and general fund.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone from the public with any questions or comments? I'll have to get you to come up here, please.
Are you taking comments and statements similar to the last city council meeting in support of or opposed to?
Yes.
Okay, sure. This will largely be a repeat of my presentation last time around, but my name is Jesse Wexler, president of the Waterville Youth Soccer Association, resident to Waterville for the last 17 years, 13 Dalton Street near the Albert Hall School. WISA is a local nonprofit organization, volunteer-based. We operate recreational and travel soccer programs in the spring and the fall at North Street and at Pine Ridge. We're running about 650 or 700 kids through that program annually, both in the spring and the fall. The program is operated and administered through Soccer Maine. That's our local organization based out of Portland for the development of youth soccer at the state and national level. Through the U.S. Youth Soccer Federation. Soccer Maine has expressed to me great support for the proposed soccer facility improvements at Pine Ridge, given its central location and the expected high-quality soccer arena that's proposed at Pine Ridge. I wanted to take a few seconds to thank Matt and Mike and Steve for undertaking such a considerable recreational improvement plan an effort in a thoughtful and collaborative manner. This is a considerable and rare opportunity for local sports in the area, and on behalf of WISA and its members and families, we thank you greatly. I also wanted to note that WISA's programs are made considerably and significantly easier because of the friendly, thoughtful, and collaborative nature and relationship that we have with Matt and at his crew at Parks and Rec. You have been incredible in your support and upkeep of the fields and facilities over the many, many years, and we look forward to continuing that relationship with you, so thank you. That said, the North Street and Pine Ridge facilities are old, they're outdated, and they're poorly suited to drain water, which is routinely problematic for our program, resulting in the cancellation or postponement of scheduled matches and events, and Parks and Rec can only do so much to keep the facilities safe and sanitary. Due to their age and design, there are considerable safety and sanitary issues, including parking, traffic flow around small children, lack of overall parking, busy side roads such as North Street, and the lack of or outdated undersized bathroom facilities. The proposed recreational improvements would allow us to take our soccer, tennis, and hockey programs in Waterville to an entirely new level, allowing us to offer to the entire state of Maine and the region top-notch, centrally located athletic arenas while also expanding recreational opportunities for our growing community. The central location of Waterville and these facilities will allow WISA, Central Maine Hockey, and Central Maine Tennis programs to reliably host festivals and tournaments that will bring hungry and tired soccer moms and hockey dads to the area, thereby facilitating economic growth at our shops, restaurants, and other avenues. In closing, the WISA board, a group of 14 dedicated soccer moms and dad, on behalf of all of our members, wholeheartedly support this proposal, and we thank you for considering it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello. I am Rian Finch, I'm here on behalf of Friends of Green Street Park. We're the all-volunteer-run organization that has been working for the last 6 years on the renovation of Green Street Park. And I just want to run through kind of a brief timeline of everything that has happened with Green Street Park since 2014. That was when a young Thomas student named Dave Dutill first proposed the idea of completely renovating the skate park inside that existed in Green Street Park. That was put in 2005 with kind of some secondhand equipment kind of on the skate pad, and it had fallen into disrepair. The city ultimately, for safety reasons, had to remove the equipment from the skate pad and just leave the concrete slab. Sometime in 15 or 16. So Dave Dutill proposed this in 2014. And in 2015, you know, there were already some improvements that we were doing to the park. We cleared out all those trees. It's been a while, but that hill across from the sliding hill just used to be covered in trees. There used to be, you know, people would drag tables in there. You could put tents in there. It was just a maze. And we completely cleared that out and kind of left that hill open. We also put that path in. And that got paved a couple of years later. And 5 loops around that path is a mile. We applied for the Rotary grant that eventually went to the Head of Falls project, but during the writing of that grant is really when Friends of Green Street Park was kind of formed. We decided we had a solid plan to complete the park. We really wanted to see it through and get some funding. We had a private donor who had been discussing the skate park with us and told us that if we could get community buy-in and if we could improve the rest of the park, they would be interested in looking at funding the skate park. Sadly, the pandemic caused them to withdraw that offer. But in that interim, we started fundraising aggressively with private donors, both locally and through our extensive family networks, to put exercise equipment into the park. And so between 2016 through now, we have raised the funds for 8 pieces of adult equipment and 8 pieces of children's exercise equipment. We've also, you know, the bike shed went up somewhere in there. I do not know the exact date that the bike shed went up, but it was somewhere in that period. We also built the children's stage after 2018. We built that in 2019 and 2020 through a grant. And so, yeah, I think that pretty much sums up everything. And then the Born Learning Trail that we had funded in 2018. And so, before I continue speaking on the concept of donors, I really want to thank GHM and the Robin's Nest. They've been hugely supportive of everything that we've been doing in the park, along with Sunrise Bagel, our new neighbors. And we really appreciate that community support that we've gotten from them. We've done this, you know, we appreciate Matt deeply. We've loved working with him. He's been great. However, he's running a department with one hand tied behind his back in terms of resources and what the city has decided that they will invest in. The last investment into this park was in 2005, and privately, the community has shown, including during this pandemic, that this is something that they really want to see in this park. They want to invest in their community, and I just would really like to thank the city for finally meeting us kind of where we're at, and, you know, putting in things that we haven't been able to fundraise for, things that we couldn't possibly, with the level of fundraising that we're doing, manage to fundraise for, with, you know, this BMX pad, which really ties in with the skate park that we're putting in, and, you know, some shelter so you can go sit and enjoy a bagel or enjoy some Pete's Pig, and then just the brand new playground equipment. That playground equipment that's in the park now is just very old, outside of the new exercise equipment. So yeah, just on behalf of Friends of Green Street Park, we'd just really like to thank the city for investing in Green Street Park. Thanks.
Anyone else from the public?
My name is Anna Holdener. I am the chair of the South End Neighborhood Association and a resident of the South End. I find it really refreshing to be able to see so many of the South End parks up on that list for improvements. I've lived in the South End for less time than I've been working in there. And those parks get used a lot. They get used by not just our kids within the neighborhood, but from people all over the city, as well as neighboring towns. And so the fact that there really haven't been a whole lot of investments from the city, besides what Matt can do, on a whim, to kind of spruce things up or swap something out last minute, it's been very difficult for our kids. We have playground equipment that is extremely old that honestly I don't know if it's how safe it is, truthfully. I mean, one of them, there was a plexiglass piece that was broken up and it's been boarded up because that's just how things get repaired in the South End, it seems. And so it's nice to actually see that the city is taking interest in recreation in the South End. We have a lot of parks down there. It is the main focus of entertainment and recreation for the kids. Matt has been an amazing ally to the neighborhood association. Really kind of goes above and beyond every time that we ask him to take a look at something in the South End. Yes, thank you. That's it.
Thanks. Anybody else from the public before we move on? All right. Yeah, good. You almost lost. It was like an auction. It was.
I'm going to be brief. I didn't know about the agenda until last minute, so I don't have anything prepared. But for what it's worth, my name is John Massey. I'm a resident of Waterville. I was born and raised in Waterville. I left to go to school in Massachusetts. I started my career in Boston. To my late 20s, I found out my daughter was on the way, and I wanted to pick a different place to raise her. I didn't want to be in the city. I wanted to be in Waterville, where they have parks and rec, they have hockey rinks, they have outdoor facilities. I have kids now that participate in WASA, we participate in Central Maine Youth Hockey, and to me, we live in Maine. It's where we need outside, we need recreation. If we want to have a city where we want people to come and raise their families that are my age, let's offer them something. I think throughout the pandemic, we've seen through the real estate market, people are coming to Maine, and they're looking up Maine, and they're Googling great places to live in Maine, and they're going through the list of towns. And wouldn't it be awesome if Waterville had on their website how great our parks and rec facility is, how we have a hockey rink in town by the local community, how we have the ski trails at the Alphon, we have all this awesome recreational stuff for your kids to come and play outside. And it's just important to me. I was born outside. I was born playing sports. I was born playing WASA. I can support your concern about the safety on the soccer fields at North Street. It's not fun standing on the side of North Street, taking a kid out of a car seat while cars are driving by because there's no parking. And I think if you want to draw young families to the community and that's the citizens you want to build here, let's offer them something. I think you have an inevitable need to improve all of these things. It's going to happen eventually, and the time is now. Colby's done a lot for the city's done a lot for itself, the Alphon's done a lot for the city, and let's keep the ball rolling, right? Where we've come such a long way. In 5 or 10 years, you look back at Waterville to where it is now, and it's night and day. And I think we can get even better, and I think we have a great opportunity to do so. So I'm thankful to everyone in this room that agrees with me and is pushing for it, and I hope we get there because we're going in the right direction, guys. So let's keep going.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, now we'll move on to the meeting. Good evening, everyone. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. There are agendas available in the file pockets near the entrance or on the city's website. All items appearing in the consent agenda are voted on in one motion and vote. Generally, these items are routine in nature and do not require discussion. All items listed under unfinished business or new business are voted on separately. First, councilors will be given an opportunity for questions or comments. Once all councilors have had an opportunity to speak, citizens will be given an opportunity for comments or questions. Citizens must speak at the podium and identify themselves. Each citizen will be allowed one opportunity to speak and will be limited to 3 minutes. Finally, councilors will be given another opportunity to speak or comment. Citizens who would like to speak on a topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda will have an opportunity to do so at the end of the meeting, under the public comment section of the agenda. At the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Do we have any conflicts with votes? Anybody up here today? All right. Seeing none, can I get a... Oh, let's go to the report. City manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first thing I'd like to report on is to inform everybody that the fire department was awarded a $17,000 grant by Firehouse Subs. That grant is going to pay for the new rescue boat for the fire department, as well as ice rescue equipment that they've needed. We did receive an accolade recently. The city won 3rd place in the Maine Municipal Association's annual report contest. I want to thank Patty Du Bois, our city clerk, and Sarah Cross, our deputy city clerk, for the work that they did on that, and Mary Ellen Savage, who also worked on it. We're having problems at the Header Falls. It's been in the newspapers. It's been talked about with the council and all. It seems that vandalism is on the rise. They've gone beyond just spraying graffiti on different structures there, and now have destroyed a section of the gazebo that's on the south end of the Riverwalk. A section of the fence was broken down, and an historical marker with history information on it was knocked over and spray painted with graffiti. In response to what's been going on there, the police department is pricing out security cameras that are going to be mounted along the Riverwalk with 2 purposes in mind. One is to hopefully identify perpetrators of the vandalism, and the other is to serve as a deterrent to people who might do harm to the property or harm to each other. Moving on, in the south end, the police department and the code enforcement officer have been working with the South End Neighborhood Association to identify issues that warrant police action within the neighborhood, and also code enforcement action as well, having to do with rental properties and the property maintenance ordinance. The feedback that I'm getting is very positive with respect to the relationship between the 2 departments and the South End Neighborhood Association, and I think we can look forward to a positive outcome over time. And then finally, the new Schuff Center next to City Hall, which is being built on the location of the former, thank you. The former Center building. On November 9th, between 11 and noon, they are going to have the last beam that's going to be placed in the framework of the building at street level, and anyone in the public is invited to come by and sign the beam. And then at noon, there's going to be what they call a topping off ceremony, where they'll raise that beam to the top of the building, put it in place, and those signatures will remain part of the building for its life. That's my report.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, go ahead. I have questions. Mr. Daly, I have questions about the build project. Where are we with that, and are we on track? And if we're not, by how many days or weeks are we behind schedule on that?
Which topic, sir?
The build grant.
Oh, on the bill grant?
Yep.
Last report I got was that the contractor is still somewhat behind schedule, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But they will have the work that they're doing now wrapped up before the snow sets in, and they'll lay off as much as they need to over the winter, perhaps doing some work, but only as the weather permits. As I've said before, the build grant does not have milestones in the contract. It has a due date not to exceed at the end of the contract, which I think is November of 2022. And the reason that that was done is that milestones have a tendency to add cost to construction contracts. So what's at the end of the contract is a very lucrative penalty clause for the city, where we will be paid some thousands of dollars a day for every day the contractor goes over that due date.
And a couple, 3 weeks, I think most of us could generally see the size of that project as being acceptable. But are you aware that the Mid-Maine Chamber of Commerce has put out an email stating that the project is 97 days behind schedule?
No, I'm not aware.
Okay. That is out there. I have a copy of the email myself.
I'll look for it.
97 days is quite a long time, regardless of the
It is.
milestones. It's going to
Yeah.
cost them, and I mean, City of Waterville will take their money gladly, but it's 97 days is what they're quoting in this email.
Yeah, that's information I don't have at this point, so I'll look it up.
Second, still along that same line, I was down there frequenting one of my favorite restaurants, and noticed that the street is awful narrow. Is the end project going to have parallel parking like it was stated when the project first started on Main Street?
It's interesting that you should raise that point, because I did the same thing with the city engineer. And he said because of the barricades and the cones and all of the obstructions in the street, it does look narrow at this point. But the curb-to-curb width is, in the final design and the way it will be built, is sufficient for parallel parking on both sides. Excuse me, I think it's going to be 10 to 12-foot lanes going in both directions. So it looks narrow, but I've been assured that there's going to be adequate room.
In the design, and this is a refreshment of my memory, was there cutouts supposed to be installed in the sidewalks for delivery vehicles?
I do not know.
Okay. How would businesses on Main Street adequately load their stock in, specifically on the west side of the street, like SBS Carbon Copy, up flights of stairs to get their supplies into the buildings without elevators and/or any other accoutrements?
I have no information on that, sir.
Downtown was being told that we were putting in carve-outs in the sidewalk for delivery vehicles specifically to be able to deliver on Main Street.
I don't
look into
believe
it.
it was carve-outs. I think what it is there's a certain number of there's an area blocked off where trucks can pull up to do deliveries
In the parking,
in the parking that'll be available on Main Street.
that street is awful narrow. And I wasn't in a section that had barricades. So cautiously optimistic to see that those get installed.
Let me offer you an invitation to you. Perhaps after work someday soon, you can come to City Hall and you and I can sit down with the city engineer, go out on the site, walk around, and talk about what your concerns are.
Monday at 4 o'clock.
I'll be there.
Awesome. That's all I had for manager. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Oh, my sleep's kind of Claude, go ahead.
In the paper today, Steve, there was a story about the Skowhegan Fire Department being seriously understaffed, partly as a result of the vaccine mandates that the governor put in for emergency workers. What's the status of emergency service here in Waterville?
What's the status of emergency service in Waterville? He read the
For-
article in Skowhegan that said they had lost some firefighters due to the vaccine mandate. How are we faring?
We're faring very well. We lost 2 people, one because of scheduling, not directly related to the vaccine, and another who resigned from the department on principle regarding the vaccine.
You good, Claude? You got some more?
Well, let me follow up then. Is there no problem then with emergency service in Waterville?
Do we have any issues with emergency service in Waterville right now?
Any
Are-
what?
Are services being affected by the vaccine mandate?
No. No. There are things that are affecting the service, but not the vaccine mandate.
Do you have another follow-up, Claude? Or are you good?
Steve, can you not hear us over there?
He's having a hard time hearing them on the TV. All right. All right, council committees? It's on here.
Any updates?
Any updates? Rebecca, do you have any updates for the housing committee?
You're muted.
I don't have an update, but I will reiterate that we are busy planning a conference for December 7th that will be at the Elm from 8 to 4. And we're expecting to roll out registration information very soon. I don't have the exact date, but you'll be able to register on the city website, and we'll be circulating information widely. So stay tuned.
All right. Claude?
Just quickly, Rebecca, will there be a remote option for that meeting?
Yes, thank you for asking. We have arranged to have the entire day live streamed, thanks to Crossroads. So people will be able to watch that way, as opposed to attending in person.
Moving on to unfinished business.
Consent agenda.
Oh, sorry, I'm trying to hop along. Can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Patty?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council DeBrito,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes,
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, now we'll move to unfinished business.
Make a motion to read by title only.
Second.
Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council DeBrito,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
yes,
Council Foss.
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
No, go ahead.
Unfinished business, ordinance 225, 2021.
An ordinance providing for amendment to zoning.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? I see no hands. All right, seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council DeBrito,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
yes,
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to new business. Order 227, 2021.
An order providing for the issuance of general obligation bonds in the amount of $5,287,400 for capital projects.
Move to adopt.
Second.
So I know that there's going to be plenty of comment here for this. A couple of things before you guys get started with your discussion. We all got the graphs. Some of us got those same graphs while we were doing the budget originally. It was no surprise to anyone that we were going to bond somewhere around $5 million this year. It was part of our budget. We took out paving of the roads and added it to this budget, added it to this bond. We did so because we knew we'd be able to do tenfold the roads that we've ever done before. I mean, we had a line item in our budget for $250,000, and for roughly an extra $75,000, you're going to pay for this bond. And there's going to be lots of things in this bond that we discussed, like the parks and how we're moving things around on North Street and all these other fun projects that are coming out. Matt has presented us with a beautiful idea for our parks. There's lots of other things in this. Most of it is actually Public Works and Parks and Rec this year, isn't it? Good job, Matt. So when you discuss that, I want you to realize that we knew that this was going to happen. We have, with this finance committee, we have projected out the debt for like the next 20, 30 years, something like that? 30 years. We know where our payments are going to be. We know how our debt's going to drop, how much we're spending. We've put it together in such a way that after all of us are gone, if no other council messes with this, it'll be okay for the next 20 or 30 years. We know that's not going to happen because somebody always plays with it. But we're talking about fixing roads, investing in parks, making sure that our community has something that attracts residents. It's not a big ask. There's a lot of stuff in there, and we'll discuss all of it. But I want you all to remember that you knew a $5 million bond was coming. The one thing in this bond that upsets me the most isn't the parks, isn't the street sweeper or the dual packer truck. It's the fact that I have to spend $400,000. We are all going to spend $400,000 to do the work of the utilities. Steve, how many times have I told you that I need them to pay for this? We don't want. It's not us.
Every time you see me.
That's the one part that was in this bond that annoyed me, because we have to do the work of others. And we shouldn't have to. But in order for them to keep up, we must spend that $400. If you take that $400,000 out, we would have been under the $5 million bond that we knew we were going to take. So there are going to be some things that you want to address and pick out and move around or try to move to another year. But this is the year. We all knew this was coming. We didn't know what we were going to spend it on, but we knew that we had projects that we were going to put in motion for years to come. And then 2 years from now, whoever's sitting on this council, Mike will be here for that too, we're going to be bonding again. 2 to 3 years down the road, we're gonna. We have it in such a way that that number stays. We are so well budgeted. I bet you that if you ask Steve what he projects the police budget to be 5 years down the road, we can figure that out. Mm-hmm. This is the right thing to do. It's time that we address our infrastructure. I ran on increasing our infrastructure spending and lowering taxes, and we have done just that this year. It's time to stick to the plan and not tinker around too much. That's it. Anybody else? No other comments? Oh, Claude. Good, Claude.
All right, I'm going to offer an amendment to the bonding issue to take out the items that we that are for the park recreation park improvement. This is a matter that is putting us, I think, in dangerous fiscal position. In spite of what the mayor says, this is something that has popped up out of nowhere in the last couple of weeks. It is contrary to what we set as our priorities last spring, which were number one, economic development, number two, infrastructure, roads and sidewalks, and number three, housing. This bond does absolutely nothing in terms of housing, which is one of the things that was a priority. So I think we're getting ahead of ourselves on the recreation. I'm going to suggest that instead of bonding for the recreation items this year, we do a major reconsideration of our recreation system and do that. And if we need bonding next year, do it then. The final thing I'd like to say is in terms of fiscal issues, we have some we're going to have a serious increase in our payroll next year due to the fact that we can't attract people to work in Waterville at the wages that we're paying. We're going to have to pay more. Even the city manager has recognized that by asking for a higher salary for the assistant city manager. Also, we have other issues that may arise due to the pandemic. We're still in the pandemic. That's still a problem, and it could cost us. It already cost us money last year. Luckily, we've been reimbursed by the feds and the state. That may not happen next year, but we are still going to have to pay. Finally, I point out that we have a reevaluation of property values on the horizon. And I want to be the last counselor in this room to suggest that we should increase taxes on the residents of Waterville. I hope I get a second.
I'm going to second, and I'd like to speak to that as well.
What you go ahead.
Okay. So this is the time of season known as that. Me and Claude agree. So the reason that I'm seconding this is that we took what was a free hockey program, and Anna and Rian, I want to speak specifically to the south end. You and I had a walkthrough last year. I want Green Street Park to have things like what you need. The problem that I have is that we took a free project and made it into a $1.9 million project, rescoping every field that we could possibly touch. Do I think that it's not warranted? No, it needs to happen. I've had kids playing on those soccer fields. It needs to happen. Do we need to do it all in one lump sum? No. The question, and Councilor Morris and I talked about this a few weeks ago. Spread it out. Take your time. Don't rush into this. This is $1.9 million of bonding that is still tax dollars that we all are either going to pay or not. One way or the other. Those are tax dollars. Okay? So I'm just, and Steve, you know, we had talked a year ago that there is still ink on paper, that there is a piece of property that we can make our hockey program on for $0. Do I agree that we need to upgrade those fields? Sure. Let's look at how, you know, what we need for dollar-wise as far as getting those fields upgraded. Do we need new fencing on the tennis courts? Absolutely. That's another question that I'm going to have another time, is why are the fences falling apart as described by the gentleman at either last council or the council before? Why is it that is in such disrepair? Okay. But I'm with Claude on this, that $1.9 million, all one lump sum, I'm not in. We can do better by the taxpayers by spreading this out, getting it still done, just not such a hard hit. What else could we do with $1.9 million? Sidewalks, more streets,
They're coming too. We can walk and chew gum at the same time.
more things. But remember, at the end of the day, it's still tax money from our taxpayers.
To benefit taxpayers.
To benefit taxpayers. And I agree with some of what you said, but let's get to the tennis courts. The reason the tennis courts look like that is because we keep kicking the can down the road. I mean, let's be honest. And we can talk about the rink that's coming and what we're trying to do with these parks. They really are two separate issues. The rink is its own thing. Are we going to make some changes on North Street? Yeah. We're going to pay for part of the parking lot. We use it too. A big chunk of this is really what's going to be happening in my neighborhood. I mean, you go to Rummel's Field right now, it's almost always muddy. That field needs to be fixed at some point. If not today, when? We've talked about Green Street. They haven't gotten equipment since 2005. I mean, that was the last time we did it. So, yeah, it's time to spend some of this money. Are there some things we could do without? I mean, Moore Street probably doesn't need the dog run, but it'd be nice to let your dog run while your kids are playing. We want to attract families. Ken, I'm sorry. You know, I love you, but I don't even like hockey. I don't like soccer. I think offsides is the dumbest rule ever. But you say that we're going to be paying. I pay taxes now. I'm going to be paying taxes in the future.
Wouldn't it be nice to be paying less taxes?
Of course it is. We paid less taxes this year.
Not by much. but
Whatever. It was better than going up.
I don't
And as
disagree.
long as we're even, we've been saying that. I've had this conversation with lots of you. I said years ago when Rick and I had an election, we went up 0.49%. Rick dogged me on that 0.49%. But I said then, you go 0.49, Eric and I kept discussing it, you will be at zero the next year. And were you at zero? Yep. Flavia, we've had that conversation. The year after pandemic, you still had money left over to be at zero. Coming out of a pandemic, we have reduced taxes. We're going to have a reevaluation next year. It's going to happen. Taxes aren't going to go up because we're making a mistake. Taxes are going to go up a little because the value of people's properties are going up. What do you think is going to happen when our parks are clean and they're operable? More properties are going to go up in value. It's not perfect. Right? No plan is ever perfect. But this is the right time. We're going to wait another 10 years? We've been waiting since 2005 for one. It's time. You want to do the fences. This sets us on a path to be a recreational center. Quarry Road is going to be the same way. We're going to get some downhill skiing. People will come to us for these services. Families will move into the neighborhoods that we are talking about. They're starting to move in now. They need things to do. This is about, we always say about the kids. I'm not going to draw your string, but it really is about what recreation our kids are going to do. I don't want them running the streets doing absolutely nothing. Grove Street needs a new basketball court. My kids go down there and play, and we don't live in that neighborhood. I want to go to Rummel's. I jump my backyard. I'm there. So I'm not worried about the traffic that's going to be passing by my house. I'm right there in the corner. You take that left. There I am. I'm okay with it. I hate spending money. I still drive an 08 Honda Civic. But this is the right thing to spend money on. I got to let the counselor speak. Anybody else?
I second what you said.
Well, you guys got to vote on his second.
We don't have to vote yet. We can still discuss it.
Okay, go ahead.
Claude's got his hand up.
Go ahead, Claude.
Well, I think you missed the point, Mr. Mayor. The point that I'm trying to make is that we need to be very fiscally careful right now. Coming up with a $2 million project that was not on the horizon at all when we did our annual budget meetings last year is, I think, very fiscally irresponsible. You can dance around it all you want, but it's going to end up costing the taxpayers money one way or the other next spring. That's why I'm putting my amendment out there, and I still think we should be fiscally responsible at this point. We're still in the pandemic. We don't know what extra costs were going to occur next year.
Go ahead, Rick.
So,
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Rebecca, then Rick.
sorry.
So I also, first of all, I do share the concerns about spending. We've invested in a lot of new things for the city. And at some point we do have to start saying, no, we can't do that. However, I do support this bond, and I don't think we should delay it, in part because the rink project, is going to be, I think it's really going to torpedo the rink project if we wait. I don't, and we're not planning to bond again for what, another 4 years?
2 to 3 years.
Okay. I initially felt, and I want to say, I think it is an investment in the city. I appreciate what people said about increasing the recreational opportunities. As someone who just raised a couple of kids, I can vouch for the fact that our children and our teens need things to do in the city, and programs, sports programs. And I think it will attract people into to come and live in Waterville instead of just visit. I initially was skeptical about the additional items that were added in the last round, but I have to say, I think there's a lot of value in investing throughout the city, and especially some of the conversations we've had in the housing committee about investing in neighborhoods. I mean, that is going to help revitalize our city, and it's going to encourage housing. It's going to make our city a more vibrant place, and I believe it will increase economic activity. So I am in support. I do have a question about the Parks and Rec part of this bond. I don't know, are we just discussing the amendment right now, or can I ask my question?
I think we're just discussing the amendment, and then I'll get right to your question.
But the amendment pertains, the amendment pertains to the Parks and Rec piece. Like
All right.
that's basically
Yes.
what we're talking about. So.
Good, Rebecca.
Well, I'll throw it out there then. Last time, and I guess this question is for Matt, if he's here.
He is.
Right. So initially, when the plan was presented, there was some discussion of taking the playground equipment at North Street and moving it to other parks in the city. And I was concerned about that. I didn't think, if it's not safe for North Street, then it shouldn't go to parks in other parts of the city. So will this plan be able to provide for new equipment in the other parks?
Everyone can hear me? Yeah. So it does provide for all new parks at the proposed areas. It doesn't include repurposing the equipment on North Street. On North Street, but that's not to say that there could be some pieces of equipment that are deemed safe that we wouldn't want to just throw away, that we would look at, other areas, because this doesn't address every there are a couple little parks that were left out that maybe could use some sprucing up that we could repurpose the North Street equipment for.
Okay, great. I just didn't want to get into a hand-me-down situation where we're taking North Street and then we're handing it down to the South End or something, but that certainly makes sense to keep what we can and use it. So I guess my other question, Matt, is just this is a lot of work for your department, and I'm
Right.
just wondering how you will
You're not getting
handle
a
that.
raise, Matt. Sorry. Said you're not getting a raise.
Oh, okay. No?
I mean, there's some.
Well, initially, Counselor, it will be a lot of work. You know, a lot of it will be subcontracted out, so it won't be as much as maybe what you imagine. But ultimately, it will be less work for us, running around, taking calls for, you know, equipment and things that are breaking down, which is the case now. So I think that once things are built, you know, if the proposal goes through, it will definitely mean less work for our department in these
Okay.
areas.
All right, thank you.
Clepak, did you have a question?
No, I don't have a question. I was just scratching, but it's since I'm talking. I don't know if I can add anything that hasn't been said. I agree with a lot of what has been said in favor of this bond. The most compelling piece that I've heard in opposition was the point about housing. That is a real issue. It's one thing to create a park system and other, you know, amenities like nice roads and sidewalks and whatever services we're providing that draws people into the city, but they do have to live somewhere, and that is a problem, and it's a problem across the income spectrum. So that is something that has to be addressed. I think that, and there goes Rebecca's hand about housing. Yeah. But I do think that this is the right sequence. I mean, you know, fixing the housing problem and, you know, giving the Parks Department the really needed infusion of new life that this bond has. They do go together. I think the parks is the correct first step to take, because I think we need to be taking steps. I agree with Jay. We need to be taking steps now, and this is the plan that's in front of us. Yeah, I eagerly await, and I'm happy to help in whatever way with the housing. You know, think about how the city can help solve the housing issue. But I fully support the parks component of this bond and the bond in general.
Rebecca, I'm going to go to Eric first and then back to you.
Okay.
I just want to address a couple of things. One, let's start with the housing. It's a different mechanism, but the city has made substantial investments in specifically workforce housing through credit enhancement agreements at the Gilman Street property, the old Gilman Street School, the old Martin's Industrial Building, which is working fast and furious right now to hopefully deliver 40-something workforce units next fall. And we are invested in those projects through a tax break for the developer. And so we're not bonding for those projects, but we are investing tax dollars in those projects by reimbursing tax dollars to those developers to bring those projects online. I would point out that Councillor Frankie has preached sort of this cautious gloom and doom for the last 2 years. Both years the budget has turned, we have run a surplus in our budget and turned money back that we had budgeted. Things have gone better than we expected. I'm also feeling a bit of deja vu because the last time I was on the council, when I was in Ward 4, at the end of my term, we put together a bond package, and I recall people sending letters to the editor saying that myself specifically was putting Waterville in a death spiral for making these investments, and that did not pan out. Waterville is doing much better than it was at that time because of the investments we made. I was on the council shortly after the financial crisis in 2008. It was the same thing. Lots of towns were very cautious, and they sort of curled up and waited to see what was going to happen. Waterville continued to make investments. One of the benefits of being in the situation we're in is very cheap to borrow money. We can get a lot more for our money by, getting out in front of this year, we're likely to get a rate somewhere around 1.75% on this loan. The rate of inflation is higher than that. So 5 years from now, these projects will be much more expensive than they will be if we take this money and invest it now and do these projects. So it really is the fiscally responsible thing to do. Many of these things are things that were outlined in the comprehensive plan. That was one of the committees I served on the last time I was on the council. There's a tendency to come up with these plans and then not actually enact the things that are in the plans. We're actually moving forward on many of the things that were outlined in that comprehensive plan. I agree we have to be very conscious of our finances. We have to make good decisions. We have to plan well. I think this is part of it. This is a very well thought out plan. I think, unfortunately, I wasn't here for the first meeting about the recreation piece of this, and I think sort of the conversation has been framed wrong. I don't see this as the rink turning into a $2 million project. What I see is that the rink came and it made us actually take a look holistically at all of our recreation facilities. And so it was more of us being like, whoa, wait a minute. We don't necessarily want you to put the rink there because we've taken a look at all of our facilities as a whole, and we've decided to take a more thoughtful approach and get out in front of this and make sure that we don't make a mistake by putting this facility in that location when in the short future we're going to have to move all these other facilities around. So I think it was the impetus for us to seriously look at our facilities and come up with a better plan. Steve can tell you, Matt can tell you, I sat in these meetings and they walked in and they told me they wanted to spend this money, and I said, why are we even having this conversation? Because there's no way in hell I'm spending that kind of money over there. But as I listened to them and I let them make their case and I met with Ken, I came around to this idea that it's time for Waterville to make this investment. It's a long overdue investment in our recreation facilities. And so I am fully in support. I think that the city can afford it. I think that we have to be smart about how we move into the future, but this is an investment that we should make.
Councilor Green.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to, as Tom said, hop on the housing question, and thank you for bringing it up because, of course, that is on my mind, and the concern is that there is money left to support housing in the city, but I don't, and Councillor Thomas made the point too. I mean, we are investing in different ways than bonding. It's hard to see how we might bond for housing exactly without a project on the books. But there are many ways that the city can support housing, and including policy changes and incentives, such as TIF funds, and also ARPA funds. So I am going to be in future meetings requesting that we really put some of our cash towards supporting housing through the funds that we have, because it is an important, very important fundamental piece of our city's health. And so I really think we need to do that. Anyway, I just wanted to clarify that and make that point. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Green. And Claude, I hope when it comes time for the extra discussion on housing, which will be here in the next couple weeks, we want to help housing, allow it in commercial zones. Commercial C, commercial B, commercial A. We have it. We're allowed residential in commercial A. Look at downtown. There's a lot of housing above the downtown businesses. You know where I am out on College Ave, right across the street from me is a bunch of apartment buildings. They are rated commercial C. They shouldn't be apartment buildings, but they're there. They work. If you want to allow opportunity for more housing, we need to open up our commercial zones. Next person. Any other councilors for this motion? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris?
It's an amendment to take out, right?
This is the amendment
that's a
to
no.
remove the Parks and Rec
No.
spending from the bond. No. DeBrito?
No.
Counselor Klepak?
No.
Counselor Green?
No.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
Counselor Thomas?
No.
The vote is 2 in favor and 5 opposed.
Do we have any other amendments or comments? Patty can get a roll call.
Counselor Morris?
Yes. Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
No.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes, because we do need to fix the roads.
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 1 opposed.
All right. Moving on to Resolution 228, 2021.
A resolution providing for a declaration of intent for bond issuance and general fund reimbursement.
Move to adopt.
Second. Just have Steve explain what this is.
Steve, can you explain this to us?
This would be better explained by our finance director.
Aaron,
The order is.
you gotta turn on your mic.
Right up your mouth. Put it near.
Up. Yep, and bring it closer to you.
This is the first of two
Can
orders.
you guys hear him?
Yes.
This is the first of two orders that is required to start the bonding process.
That easy?
Yeah.
It's a lot of words there for that,
Well-
for that short of an explanation.
And also to set forth the intent that we can spend money on some of these projects, and then we're going to reimburse ourselves when we actually borrow the money, correct?
Yes.
So that means we don't necessarily have to wait for the money from the bond to come in to get these projects underway. We can start these projects, the city can front the money, and then we'll reimburse ourselves out of the bond proceeds.
Yes.
Any other questions? Claude, I see your hand.
So does that mean we can go ahead and start work at Green Street Park tomorrow?
I mean, weather permitting.
Yes.
We need a second read before that could happen.
You still have another vote on this bond, Claude.
Take two votes.
So we can start it on it the week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that gives Matt 2 weeks to plan.
No, Matt. No, Matt.
Hey,
You can't come to us now and be like, oh, we gotta wait.
I'm bringing my motorcycle. We're going to find out what that BMX park will do.
All right. No further questions? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes, because I want Green Street and I want our roads.
Counselor Frankie?
We worked hard on them roads.
Yes.
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Moving on to Ordinance 229, 2021.
An ordinance providing for amendment to ethics ordinance.
Move to adopt.
No, we're gonna table this.
We got to table this?
Yep.
We're going to table this, right,
I am
Steve?
going to rescind
Yes,
that.
this and the next two articles
The next three, all three
should be
ordinances?
postponed to the next meeting.
I'd make a motion to table ordinance 229, 230, and 231 to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
Patty, can I get a roll call?
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
I'm going to vote yes, but can we get a little bit more explanation on these before the next meeting, please?
Yes.
That's why we're tabling them, Claude.
Claude wants more info before next meeting.
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to Resolution 232, 2021.
Okay, let me get there. Hold on. 32.
What?
I found it.
Oh, okay. You were looking at me
I
like I
just
had
had
it.
to
I'm like,
flip
it
through
ain't me.
everything. A resolution providing for bid award public works equipment.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion?
What piece of equipment is this? Steve, what piece of equipment are we?
This is for a Bobcat miniature track piece of equipment with a number of accessories that the Public Works Department is going to use in the Park and Rec area.
And how is this being funded?
It's being funded through, I believe, the 2020 bond.
It's leftover
Yeah.
bond proceeds.
Yes.
Gotta spend it. Can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council DeBrito,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
I think that was a yes.
is that a yes? Thank you. Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss.
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to Resolution 233, 2021.
A resolution providing for Specialized Aviation Service Operating Rights Agreement, Freight Runners Express Incorporated.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is just renewing a lease with a company that's operating up at the airport, Steve.
Yes, this is with the freight company that flies in and out of the airport. It's an operating agreement for them to be able to use the airport on a regular basis, and the charge to them is at market rate.
Claude, I saw your hand go up and down. You all set?
I just wanted to get into the minutes what the market rate is. I know it's in the agenda, but I like to see stuff like this in the minutes.
I'd have to look that up.
He'll have to look that up, but we'll get it in there for you, Claude.
Okay, thank you.
No other discussion. Patty, can you get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council DeBrito,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
God, yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Klepak, we'll give you 2 or 3 minutes if you need to run to the kitchen and get some honey. All right.
You gotta lose it over there.
Resolution 234, 2021.
A resolution providing for Specialized Aviation Service Operating Rights Agreement, Vacation Land Skydiving LLC.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Go ahead, Rick.
I think this has been a smashing success since it landed here. No pun intended, every pun intended.
say, hopefully not too
I
smashing.
joke with Brad frequently because they happen to drop, push, shove the people that are jumping out of a perfectly good airplane
They don't have to shove
right
me.
in back of where I live, so I get to watch them free fall. What makes that make sense to them? That's on them. But
Adrenaline.
I think it's been a great partnership, and I hope Brad's business explodes. Not, but
I've told you to come skydiving.
no, just
You can come skydiving.
no.
I'll take you.
No,
I mean, Ticker will.
I'll strap a camera to you. Let
Ticker
you rip.
still takes it.
No,
I mean,
no.
let's do it.
Perfectly good airplane. Not jumping out of it.
Any other questions? All right, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council DeBrito,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss.
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to Resolution 235, 2021.
A resolution providing for canvassing of votes and determination of the result of the regular and special municipal election held on November 2nd, 2021.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Rick.
Patty, do we have any of these under recount?
Yes, we had a request for a recount for the Ward 7 City Council seat.
Should we make an amendment to hold that out and certify that down the road? Because the way I understand this is if we certify this, then we are saying that the Ward 7 numbers, as according to this document, are correct.
What we've done in the past when we've had recounts is we accept the results after the election, and if the recount changes the result, we can make an amendment to the certified results at a later date if need be.
Is it easier to pull out the Ward 7? Is it legal?
You can accept the results of everything but Ward 7 if you prefer, if you're more comfortable, and then we could certify those results after the recount at the next council election, or we can keep them in and amend them.
Is there a legality one way or the other? I'm not picking
Either way
sides
is
in this. I'm just,
acceptable.
I want to make sure that we do this right.
Either way is acceptable.
Do we have Bill Lee here? No. Of course not.
Patty probably knows more about this particular issue
No,
than Bill does.
I know. God, we went through a couple of elections. I would make an I'm going to make the amendment just to keep everything copacetic, that we accept everything except for Ward 7 until after the recount is completed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh,
Second.
I have a second. All right.
Okay.
You want to say something? Go ahead.
It's not technically really about this amendment, although it pertains to it. And I just want to be clear that the reason that I really didn't want to request a recount. But I went in and I chatted with Patty. And what she told me is that there are 13 ballots that the machine didn't count because somebody didn't quite fill the oval in the way they were supposed to. Sometimes people circle a name instead of filling in the oval. Sometimes they put a check mark next to it. So the machine didn't read it. And it's close enough that, you know, everyone who went and cast a legal ballot should have their vote counted. That's why I requested a recount, not because I actually think it will change the results, but just because I think that everyone who went out and casted a ballot should have their vote counted. And the only way to know how the votes were cast on those particular ballots is to take a look at them. And so that's why I requested the recount.
Go ahead, Rick.
And my stance on this is, if I certify this tonight, okay, I'm saying, me personally, I'm saying that these numbers are correct, and I want every vote to count. And I don't, wherever this lands, it lands. It is what it is. I want it to be right, and I want us to certify good numbers after the recount. So that's the only reason that I'm offering this amendment, to just hold off.
All right. Patty, can I get a roll call on that amendment? Oh.
I'm perfectly fine with it. I agree with him on making sure those 13 people get their vote.
Absolutely.
Those 13 people should count.
Every vote should count.
If I could just clarify that those ballots were counted as blank ballots because the tabulators are programmed in such a way that they're only programmed to read the oval that's filled in on the ballot. So as Councilor Thomas mentioned, if the voter makes a check mark next to the name, they don't always understand the instructions or circle the name, it doesn't recognize that as a vote. So it's commonplace that when you do a hand tally recount, which is what will happen, it won't be done by the tabulator, that those blank ballots can sometimes change and result in a vote for one of the candidates. So it's not any fault in the tabulator. There's nothing, you know, they're not counting ballots. They're just not counting it as the voter had intended. And you can tell the voter's intent when you're looking at the ballots.
Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome.
Can I get a roll call on this amendment?
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council DeBrito?
Yes.
Council Klepak?
Sure.
Council Green?
Sure.
Councilor Foss?
Sure.
Councilor Frankie?
Yes.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Move as amended.
Second.
Any discussion? No hands.
Councilor Klepak, please don't say, yeah, whatever.
He got something out. That throat is hoarse.
Well,
Patty, can I get a roll call on the amendment? We'll have him give us an update on his condition during councilor updates.
Council Morris?
Yeah.
Council Morris?
There was a yes.
Oh, sorry. Councilor DeBrito?
Yes.
Councilor Klepak?
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Foss,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Counselor updates or comments?
I got it.
Go ahead.
Well, I'd like to explain why I showed up wearing a hat and with paint all over me, because I've been working on the sets for Clue at the Waterville Opera House, which opens next weekend. And tickets are selling really well. It's going to be a great show, so I hope everybody comes out and supports the Waterville Opera House.
Well, we're not all going to be able to come out and keep selling off all them tickets.
Wait a minute. I've been on my property clearing land in an excavator all day.
I came straight from there
all right.
to here.
I'll give you that.
Any other updates? Counselor
Yeah.
Kleepak.
You'll be happy to know I don't want to talk about brown-tailed moth. In fact,
We were going to cut you off if you did.
I do other things with my time, and one of the things that I've been working with is the Friends of Quarry Road. So I wanted to mention the ski and skate swap that myself and a number of other people have been working hard to roll out. It's happening this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday, November 6th, 9 a.m. Show up there. The 7th is the rain date if it's rainy on Saturday. It's at the Harold Alphonse Snowmaking Center, the big green metal shed that's down by the gate before you get to the yurt out there. And if you have anything that you want to bring to the ski swap, either to put on consignment so you can get some money, I think we take like 10 or 15%, a very small amount to support the programs for the ski programs for the little kids out there in the winter so they can learn how to ski. And if you want to donate material to be sold at the ski or skate swap, we'll accept that. So any kind of winter gear. It doesn't have to be skis. It doesn't have to be skates. Really, we'll take all kinds of winter gear, snowshoes, whatever. There will be people down there at the shed on Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. to take your donations, and we'll be organizing and setting it up. Or if you want to just drop stuff off at the shed between now and then, Justin Farashidyan, that is sort of the, I don't know what his actual title is, but the overseer of Quarry Roads out there, the program director, I guess is what he is. He should be there during business hours to take any of your donations. Social distancing, masks, bring cash or credit cards. Most of it will be set up outside. There will be some inside stuff. I see now 20% of consignment goes to the club, not 15. But it's a cool thing to have right here in Waterville. Please support it. Tell people about it.
Do you have a wish list on Amazon or anything like that?
Oh man, that's a good idea. I don't know. I don't even really know how to do that. No, we don't. I don't think so. But that's a great idea. Are you volunteering to help with that, Jay? You should come and help us with that.
I mean, whatever.
Wow, right.
You need some money? I mean, the time I got too.
Jay just wants to buy something.
Yeah. I'm like, you want snowshoes? Tell me which ones. I'll buy them for you. I mean, Foss and I bought bikes. We're not new to this.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Thank you, Mayor. I will, Mr. Mayor. I'll bring that up with the group. It's a great idea. Thanks.
Councilor Morris.
So on the piggyback of community support and recreation and things like that, exciting times here at Waterville. The high school football team is playing in a playoff game this Saturday at Drummond Field. Directly after that, the Waterville Youth Football is hosting their second annual drive-through spaghetti dinner. So you can go to Waterville Youth Football on Facebook. Find us on Facebook. There's links to sign up and swing by from 5 to 7, $10. Get you a nice little meal, and you can carry it home. This weekend, Saturday. At the Children's Discovery Museum is where everything's going to happen. Yep. So, Amarin has been great.
Awesome food.
Yep.
Any of the counselors? Patty?
I would mention that we failed to include a date in the resolution regarding the canvassing of the votes, when a date when the charter amendments will become effective. So if I could possibly ask you to reconsider Resolution 235 and we can make that amendment.
So moved.
Second. And then I would offer the amendment as Patty outlined.
Well, what date would we prefer? I mean, we could do it immediately, effective today, so that if a vacancy occurs, that those charter amendments are in place.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Good. Yep.
Thank you.
Is that it, Patty?
Yes. Can I do a
Can I
roll
roll
call
call
on that?
on that?
Thank you. Council Morris?
Yes.
Councilor DeBrito?
Yes.
Councilor Klepak?
Yes.
Councilor Green?
Yes.
Councilor Foss?
Yes.
Councilor Frankie?
You're on mute, sir.
Okay, that's because I just think it's incredible that Patty overlooked something. I vote yes.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes, and
7 in favor and 0 opposed.
I move the resolution as amended.
Second.
Can I get a roll call?
Councilor Morris?
Yes.
Councilor DeBrito?
Yes.
Councilor Klepak?
Yes.
Councilor Green?
Yes.
Councilor Foss?
Yeah.
Councilor Frankie?
Yes.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Now
Sorry
back
about
to that pasta. We're all set there? Spaghetti dinner? Any cookies? You serving drinks?
No. I'll have some drinks, but yeah, we're not serving anything.
I'm going to open up to public comments.
So speaking, there we go. Right? Can you hear me? Is this
Yep.
on?
We
It's hard to
can.
tell.
Yes.
Speaking of the charter, Mr. Mayor, I had asked you when the city was going to form the Comprehensive Plan Review Commission. You did not know when that was going to happen. The charter, as it was approved last year, that went into effect on July 1st, called for the first meeting to happen during the fiscal year of 21-22, and we're rapidly chewing up months in this fiscal year. And so I'm curious if the city manager has plans. I know that the charter calls for the council to actually adopt an ordinance calling for the creation of the commission, but I was just curious where in the process we are with that.
We're going to discuss it this week and try to get it on the next agenda.
Oh, well, that was easy. All right.
I know they say government's inefficient.
You were looking for more pushback, weren't you? I think you brought the big notebook tonight.
Any other public comments?
At least we have fun doing it.
I see none.
That's a motion to adjourn?
That's a second.
Second.
Yeah.
Hey.